Hare Krishna. So we'll start with our Jai Radha Madhav prayers, and then we'll go into the verses. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari, Shodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana, Yashodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana, Yashodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Banchari, Jamuna Tira Banchari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Thank you very much, Karna Chaitanya Prabhu, for providing me this wonderful opportunity to interact with all the devotees here at Leicester. I am eternally indebted to His Grace Pradumna Prabhu for giving me shelter at a place and under his guidance and his blessings. I expect to serve the community devotee and purify myself in the movement of Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for all the glorifications which I do not deserve and happen to be a mercy of the great saintly personalities and acharyas and all the senior devotees, because of which I am where I am and too far from the goals that acharyas has set for us. So I'm thankful to all the devotees, and I would like to pay my obeisances to all the senior Vaishnavas assembled here. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhayavacha patitanam pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you for giving me shelter at the town of Leicester. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cha Eva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Nashtaprayesu abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1st, Chapter 8, verse number 31. Gopyadade tvai kritagasi dam tavad yate deshashru kalyanjana sambhramaksham Vakram niniya bhaya bhavanaya sthitasya samam vimoyati bhirapi yadhibeti. I'll read synonyms, translation, and then purports for all the three verses by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gopi, the cowherd lady, Adade took up Tvai on your Kirtagasi, creating disturbances by breaking the butter pot. Dama, rope, Tavat, at that time, Ya, that which, Te, your, Dasha, situation, Ashru Kalila, over flooded with tears, Anjan, ointment, Sabbrahma, perturbed, Aksham, eyes, Vaktram, face, Niniya, downwards, Bhaya, Bhavanaya, by thoughts of fear, Sthitasya, of the situation, Sa, that, Mam, may, Vimoyati, bewilders, Bhiya api, even fear personified, Yat, whom, Bhibeti, is afraid. Translation. My dear Krishna, Yashoda took up a rope to bind you when you committed an offense, and your perturbed eyes overflooded with tears, which washed the mascara from your eyes, and you were afraid. Though fear personified is afraid of you, this sight is bewildering to me. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Here is another explanation of the bewilderment created by the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is the supreme in all circumstances, as already explained. Here is a specific example of the Lord's being the supreme and at the same time a plaything in the presence of his pure devotee. The Lord's pure devotee renders service unto the Lord out of unalloyed love only, and while discharging such devotional service, pure devotee forgets the position of the Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord also accepts the loving service of his devotees more relishably when the service is rendered spontaneously out of pure affection, without anything of reverential admiration. Generally, the Lord is worshipped by the devotees in a reverential attitude, but the Lord is meticulously pleased when the devotee, out of pure affection and love, considers the Lord to be less important than himself. The Lord's pastimes in the original abode of Goloka Vrindavan are exchanged in that spirit. The friends of Krishna consider him one of them. They do not consider him to be of reverential importance. The parents of the Lord consider him a child only. The Lord accepts the chastisements of the parents more cheerfully than the prayers of the Vedic hymns. Similarly, he accepts the reproaches of his fiancées more palatably than the Vedic hymns. When Lord Krishna was present in this material world to manifest his eternal pastimes of the transcendental realm of Goloka Vrindavan as an attraction for the people in general, he displayed a unique picture of subordination before his foster mother Yashoda. The Lord, in his naturally childish, playful activities, used to spoil the stocked butter of Mother Yashoda by breaking the pots and distributing the contents to his friends and playmates, including the celebrated monkeys of Vrindavan, who took advantage of the Lord's munificence. Mother Yashoda saw this, and out of a pure love, she wanted to make a show of punishment for her transcendental child. She took a rope and threatened the Lord that she would tie him up as is generally done in the ordinary household. Seeing the rope in the hands of Mother Yashoda, the Lord bowed down his head and began to weep just like a child, and tears rolled down his cheeks, washing off the black ointment smeared about his beautiful eyes. This picture of the Lord is adored by Kunti Devi because she is conscious of the Lord's supreme position. He is feared often by fear personified, yet he is afraid of his mother, who wanted to punish him just in an ordinary manner. Kunti was conscious of the exalted position of Krishna, whereas Yashoda wasn't. Therefore, Yashoda's position was more exalted than Kunti's. Mother Yashoda got the Lord as a child, and the Lord made her forget altogether that her child was the Lord himself. If Mother Yashoda had been conscious of the exalted position of the Lord, she would certainly have hesitated to punish the Lord. But she was made to forget the situation because the Lord wanted to make a complete gesture of childishness before the affectionate Yashoda. This exchange of love between the mother and the son was performed in a natural way. And Kunti, remembering the scene, was bewildered, and she could do nothing but praise the transcendental maternal love. Indirectly, Mother Yashoda is praised for her unique position of love, for she could control even the all powerful Lord as her beloved child. Verse number 32 of chapter 8, Canto 1. Kechit ahur ajam jatam punna shlokas कीर्तये yado priyasinna babaye malaya sevya chandanam yadoha priyasyan babaye malayasyeva chandanam. Some say that the unborn is born for the glorification of pious kings, and others say that he is born to please King Yadu, one of your dearest devotees. You appear in his family as sandalwood appears in the Malaya hills. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Because the Lord's appearance in this material world is bewildering, there are different opinions about the birth of the unborn. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord says that he takes his birth in the material world, although he's the Lord of all creations, and he is unborn. So there cannot be any denial of the birth of the unborn because he himself establishes the truth. But still, there are different opinions as to why he takes his birth. That is also declared in Bhagavad Gita. He appears by his own internal potency to re-establish the principles of religion and to protect the pious and to annihilate the impious. That is the mission of the appearance of the unborn. Still, it is said that the Lord is there to glorify the pious King Yudhishthira. Lord Krishna certainly wanted to establish the kingdom of the Pandavas for the good of all in the world. When there is a pious king ruling over the world, people are happy. When the ruler is impious, people are unhappy. In the age of Kali, in most cases, the rulers are impious, and therefore the citizens are also continuously unhappy. But in the case of democracy, the impious citizens themselves elect their representative to rule over them, and therefore they cannot blame anyone for their unhappiness. Maharaj Nal was also celebrated as a great pious king, but he had no connection with Lord Krishna. Therefore, Maharaj Yudhishthira is meant here to be glorified by Lord Krishna. Lord had already glorified King Yadu, having taken birth in his family, although he is known as Yadava, Yaduvira, Yadunandan, etc., he is always independent of such obligation. He is just like the sandalwood that grows in the Malaya hills. Trees can grow anywhere and everywhere. Yet, because the sandalwood trees grow mostly in the area of Malaya hills, the names sandalwood and Malaya hills are interrelated. Therefore, conclusion is that the Lord is ever unborn like the sun, and yet he appears as the sun arises on the eastern horizon. As the sun is never the sun of the eastern horizon, so the Lord is no one's son, but he is the father of everything that be. Shloka 33, chapter 8, canto 1. Apare vasudevasya, apare vasudevasya, devakyam yachitobhyagat, ajastam asya shemaya, vadhaya cha svirdusham. Others say that since both Vasudeva and Devaki prayed for you. You have taken your birth as their son. Undoubtedly, you are unborn. Yet you take your birth for their welfare and to kill those who are envious of the demigods. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. It is also said that Vasudeva and Devaki, in their previous birth as Sutapa and Prishni, underwent a severe type of penance to get the Lord as their son. And as a result of such austerities, the Lord appeared as their son. It is already declared in Bhagavad Gita that the Lord appears for the welfare of all people of the world and to vanquish the asuras or the materialistic atheists. Atheists. Om Jnanam Timrindasya Jnananjana Chakshurun Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapt Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So these are the compositions where Kunti Maharani is praying her heart out to Lord Krishna. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5, there are two very important verses in the context of Srimad Bhagavatam. Nayadvachaschitra padam hariryasho jagat pavitram praganita karehichet tadvayasam tirtham mushanti manasa nayatra hamsa nirmantya shikkashaya tadvayasam tirtham ushanti manasa. The shloka says that the words that do not describe the glories of the Lord. So the newspapers, the magazines, the literature of the net, internet, everything that is not related to the Supreme Lord, all of that literature is considered as a place of pilgrimage for crows. Tat Vayasam Tirtham. Vayasam is crows. Tirtham is the place of pilgrimage. So the words that do not describe the glories of the Lord, what are these glories of the Lord? These glories of the Lord can sanctify the atmosphere of the whole universe. Such words which are not in relation to lordships are nothing but a place of pilgrimage for crows. Since The all-perfect persons are inhabitants of the transcendental abode. They do not derive any pleasure there. Ushanti Manasa, Ushanti Manasa, saintly persons, they do not derive any pleasures in such places. And Nirmanti, they don't take pleasure in such places. But where do they take pleasure? Then Bhagavatam says, the very next shloka, which is 11th shloka of chapter 5 in Canto 1. Tadvaga visargo janatagah viplavo yasmin pratishlokam abhaddavati api namani anantasya yasho nikitani yat ankitani yat shrivanti gayanti grinanti sadhavah. Tadvaga visargo janatagah viplavo. The literature which is full of description of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, even though it is not 100% correct, that literature has the power to bring about a revolution in the impious lives of the misdirected civilization. And this is the verse that Srila Prabhupada has chosen to written in the preface of Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, where he's presenting himself very humbly, saying that it is the strength of this verse that I'm writing this Bhagavatam. Even though there is none, but still, if some may consider that there are some faults, then he's saying that even though such literature, which may have some faults, which may be imperfectly composed, rather, they're heard, Shivananti, Gayanti, sung, and Grinanti, accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. So, if one is thoroughly honest, he will relish such words of Srimad Bhagavatam. Not only Srimad Bhagavatam's words are purifying, but they have the power, Janatagaha Viplavo, Janata, the people in general, Agaha, sins. It can eliminate sins from the root, and it has the power to cause Viplavaha, revolution. Tadavaga Visargo Janatagaha Viplavo. Yasmin Prati Shlokam Abhaddavati Api, irregularly composed. So such is the power of Srimad Bhagavatam. And Lord Krishna, we hear him speak in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And he is speaking about his devotees. He's speaking about himself. He's speaking about his devotees. And some of the verses that Srila Prabhupada has been quoting, and we understand from Bhagavad Gita, he is also emphasizing on the point of Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattvataha takta deham punarjanma na eti mametu arjuna. So he's talking about his own birth in Bhagavad Gita. At the same time, he is also saying that I am the Supreme Lord. I am everything. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate. He's saying like that. Iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. I'm everything is emanating out of me. He's also giving his expectation, or rather his description of his own devotees. He's saying Matchitta Madgat Prana Bodhyantaha Parasparam. Katyantascha Mam Bhaktya Mam Nityam Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. So he's saying my devotees, their thoughts are always dwelling around me, and their lives are fully devoted to me. This is how he's describing his devotees. They derive great satisfaction and pleasure in discussing about me, enlightening one another, and conversing about me. So what are these conversations? What are these conversations that Krishna is talking in Bhagavad Gita? These are the conversations which are described in Srimad Bhagavatam. When we look at the prayers of Maharani Kunti, Kunti Maharani, Mother Kunti, Queen Kunti, or just Kunti, there are various ways Kunti Maharani has been called in Bhagavatam. We see how the heart of the pure devotees are revealed. How can you get access to such hearts of pure devotees? There is no way you can access it. We cannot access spirituality from the material conception and material senses. because it is just not accessible. Goloka Prema Dhan Harinam Sankirtana. So such, even for the holy names of the Lord, is not accessible. Spiritual subject matters are not accessible. They're only accessible to the hearts of pure devotees. And hearts of pure devotees are revealed in Srimad Bhagavatam. When now we can see that how pure devotees are describing Lord's pastimes. And we see in the shlokas that how Marani Kunti is so bewildered by the pastimes of Damodar Leela. We all sing Damodar Leela, we all describe Damodar Leela, we are all aware of Damodar Leela. Anybody who's connected to ISKCON in the month of Kartik, how the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who fears the personified fear, is getting fearful of Mother Yashoda, and how Srila Prabhupada has described in the purport that he loves this chastisement more than the hymns of the Vedas, because the rasa, the relationship, is much higher and stronger. Who can treat Supreme Personality of Godhead in such a manner that go, bring the shoes of your father, and here comes the Supreme Personality of Godhead walking with the shoes of his father, Khadau on his head like this, and coming to Maharaj Nanda and giving it to him. And Maharaj Nanda is then loving Krishna. So this is beyond understanding of the mundane preview of the conditioned souls, and this is being reflected in the heart of Mother Kunti here. So Krishna, although he's saying that Janma Karma Chame Divyam, he's also mentioning that there are people in this world who would not believe my descent in the human form, that I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They do not know my transcendental nature. Avajananti mamamura, manusham tanum ashritam. He's saying that these are muras. They deride my existence. So he's already establishing there will be people who will be deriving the existence of the Supreme Lord. Why do they do that? Because they are ignorant. They're ignorant. They feel that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is like one of them because he has come in his human form. So we understand from Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna's birth is divine. His birth is not the combination of the semen of a male and a female who come together and then produces a body which is made out of the material elements and is a result of the material modes of nature interacting with each other and is produced out of the karmic reactions of his own karma and desires, and thus subjected to the rules and regulations and the laws of the universe and the material creation. Krishna says, Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam. I am the controller of the prakriti. Now, such a personality who is the controller of prakriti cannot be in the control of prakriti. And this is what exactly the birth of Lord Krishna depicts. So Krishna, we know that Devaki and Vasudev, they were kept in the prison, and finally Kansa, who was Kalnemi in his past life, kills 6 of their children. And at this stage, the 7th child was to take birth. And Lord Krishna tells Yogamaya that the 7th child in the womb of Devaki is none other than my own expansion, Sankarshana or Balaram. And therefore, please go. So he's directing the material energy, his own Shakti. Please go and transfer this personality from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. Now, Rohini is another wife of Vasudeva, but because of the scare of Kamsa, many of the Yadus, they were all around and they were scared. And Vasudev's family members, they were taking shelter at different places. And so was Rohini living in Gokul with the with Devki, with Nanda Maharaj and Yashodamai. So when ordered in such a way, she exercised that command and transferred Balram to Rohini. And also Krishna said to her that you also take birth in as the sister or as my sister, and then the power and the prowess, both will come together in the material world. So we can see how Krishna is directing his movements and not is subjected to the direction of the material energy, rather directing the material energy himself. And then Krishna appeared in the mind of Vasudeva, and from the mind of Vasudeva in the heart of Vasudeva. From the heart of Vasudeva, he then goes to the heart of Devaki. Devaki looked transcendently beautiful. And when Vasudeva had Krishna in his heart, that Vasudeva looked transcendently beautiful, but they were in the prison and not visible to the eyes of anybody else. At that point in time, then Krishna appeared. Krishna did not take birth. Krishna appeared as four-armed Vishnu form in front of his devotees, Sutapa and Prishni, who had done severe austerities in past lives. And that's what it means when Krishna here, Kunti Maharani is saying that you come to please your devotees. Now, Prishni and Sutapa, they have been performing austerities, and when Krishna appeared before them, they both asked that we would like a son like you. There's nobody else than like Krishna. And therefore, Krishna decided mercifully, with compassion and love, to come as their son in this lifetime. So this way we can see that the birth of Lord Krishna is divine, it's spiritual. It has nothing to do with the matter. Krishna is not bound by the regulation of the modes of nature. Modes of nature can only control the living entities, but not the supreme being. Because living entity is subjected to death, birth, old age, disease, and he is definitely subordinate to the material energy, and feels that he can rule the inferior energy of the Lord, and therefore he wants to control this energy. But unfortunately, he's subjected to birth and death, whereas Supreme Lord is not subjected to any birth and death. He takes birth wherever he wants to take, or rather, he appears wherever he wants to appear. In the story or pastimes of Chittaketu Maharaj, the son Harshashoka appeared to Kritadyuti after the blessings of Maharaj Angira, and soon after, as predicted by Rishi Angira, that your son will become the cause of misery as well as the cause of happiness as well as the cause of lamentation. The time came that after birth, when they had jubilations and happiness, all the queen of Maharaj Chittaketu became absolutely envious. Enviousness is born out of this material nature again. And we understand that how contemplation of sense objects brings attachment. And when that attachment is not fulfilled, one becomes angry. And when one becomes angry, then one becomes illusioned. In that illusion, his intelligence becomes completely, he becomes completely bewildered in his intelligence, and then loses all the smriti. Krodat bhavati sammoha. Sammohat smriti vibhramaha. Smriti brahmashad buddhinasho. Buddhinashat pranashyati. So buddhinash has happened. And in such situation, he loses himself back in the material pool. So contemplation of objects such as dhyato, dhyato vishayan pumsaha. So in that way, this queen of Maharaj Chitraketu, all of them were so envious because Maharaj Chitraketu was giving his complete attention to the queen who has given him the son, the a son who will relieve all the forefathers and his rin of forefathers. So he was so obliged to Maharani Kitadviti. And just by the way of providence, all the queen who were to be mothers decided to administer poison. And when they administered poison, obviously this Harshasoka left his body, leaving a sea of lamentation in the kingdom of Maharaj Chitraketu. He was completely grieved, and he felt as if he is blinded, as if he has no meaning to life. And he was lamenting. At that point in time, Angira Rishi and Narad Muni again appeared on the scene. And when he pleaded to Angira Rishi and Narad Muni that why my son has been taken away when his father is still alive. And then Angira Rishi said that at that time when I came to see you, Rajan, you were not ready for transcendental knowledge. Your mind was hooked into the material objects and senses of these material objects, and your senses were attached to the material objects. You wanted a son, which you have got now, and you have lost it. What is the relationship between you and your son anymore? He is no more with you. And like that, when Angira Rishi spoke to Maharaj Chitraketu, same time Narad Muni mystically goes up to the body of this Harshasoka and says that still there's some, you lived only for a short time in this body, and you may again come back into this dead body and live the rest of your life enjoying the fruitive activity, enjoying the fruits of the activities that you have performed in the past. So the living entity entered into that body and mystically started to speak. And that Harshasoka said, according to the results of my fruitive activities, I, the living being, transmigrate from one body to another, sometime going to the species of demigods, sometimes to the species of lower animals, sometimes among the vegetables, and sometimes the human species. Therefore, O sage, tell me in which birth were these my father and mother? No one is actually my father and mother. How can I accept these two people as my parents? So this soul, he was at the transcendental platform now. And he could tell the truth because he could see the truth. The truth was, and he said, just like the gold and other commodities are transferred from one place to another in due course of purchase and sale, another analogy he gave was of the animals, that once they are sold, you have no attachment to that animal anymore. Till the such time that that animal is in the custody, you're attached. The moment it's sold, there is no attachment. Similarly, the living entities or conditioned souls are going from one birth to another birth to another birth, and they are like straws or in the water coming together and getting separated, or the dust particles in the air coming together and getting separated by the forces of nature. Hence, Krishna is not like that. He is Aja. He is Aja, Ishwar Paramaha Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadiradir Govinda, Sarv Karana Karam. He is cause of all causes. He is not subjected to any kind of birth, death, old age, disease, karmic reactions, karma. He is not forced to work. He is not subjected to the influences of time. He is not subjected to the influences of material nature. He is not subordinate to anybody's will. He is Swarat. Bhagavatam explains and establishes that in very first shloka. He is Swarat. He is fully independent. He can do whatever he wants. And the devotees of the Lord understand the Lord in that way, that that everything is subordinate to the Lord. In this regard, we can go back a little bit into the history of Pandavas, and this is the time when all the Pandavas, 5 of them, and Draupadi, they have completed their exile. They have completed their exile in the kingdom of Virat in disguise, because one of the conditions was that if the disguise get opened, then they will have to go for another 12 years of exile. And this way, when the exile was getting completed and they passed that time safely, Maharaj Yudhishthir asked for his right of kingdom from Dhritarashtra, his uncle. And the reply he got in return was that not even 5 villages will be given to them. Maharaj Yudhishthir said that I'm a Kshatriya. I cannot beg and live a life which is deprived of ruling the kingdom, sitting on the throne, and managing the affairs of the planet Earth and the kingdoms on planet Earth. I am a Kshatriya and I'm trained like that. It's my occupational duty to rule. But to rule, I need a Kshetra, I need a kingdom. And he was even ready that I'll give 1 village to each of my brother, and we will be happy living those villages. But then when he got this reply that they will not be given even 1 village, they reached out to Krishna and consulted him. Krishna, what is it that we can do now? Yudhishthir folded his hands and he addressed Krishna that it is known throughout the world you are devoted to the welfare of your friends, and you have kindly extended your friendship to us. Oh Master, oh Madhava, please can you go as a peacemaker to the kingdom of Hastinapur and convey our messages that even if they give us, because otherwise we will have to resort to fight. And when we'll resort to fight, the war will be killing, unnecessary killing will happen on the planet. Yudhishthira did not relish the prospect of the war, and obviously not with his own elders. He was very respectful to Dhritarashtra, always treated him as his own father, and therefore followed his own, all his commands, including the invitation to come and play a dice game with Shakuni, knowing that Shakuni is a cheater. But still he came to respect, and because of which, then he lost Draupadi, then he lost the kingdom, then he was sent into exile. To that extent, he was respecting Dhritarashtra, yet Dhritarashtra was not willing to give anything, yet Dhritarashtra was seeking a peace by not giving anything. And this was a very difficult situation. And therefore, they were requesting Krishna, please can you go and take our message as a peacemaker, because nobody else in Krishna can do that better. Nobody else can do the better justice that Krishna can do. So he said to Yudhishthira, I know your intentions and intentions of Duryodhan. Although you would prefer peace by any means, it is not a Kshatriya's duty to avoid a righteous fight. Rather, the Creator has ordained that Kshatriya must become victorious, who is righteous king. So Yudhishthira said, I would like to make one last attempt of peace. And with that intention, finally, Krishna prepares to go to Hastinapur. And at that time, Yudhishthira Maharaj said to Krishna that, please convey my message and my love to my mother, whom we have not seen for last 13 years. Please tell her that we are all good and we would like to know how is she? Is she okay? Such pious lady. She has suffered from time and time again. And now still she's suffering the separation. She's suffering through the anxieties. So Yudhishthira Maharaj was able to understand the heart of her mother, Kunti Devi. So Krishna went to Hastinapur, and in between, when he stopped a halt, then the news reached to kingdom of Hastinapur, and Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, all his brothers, and Drona and Kripa and Vidura, they all sat together and they said that Krishna is invincible. It's best to keep Krishna on our side. Let's treat Krishna in the best of the capabilities. We will offer him wealth. We will offer him all kinds of comforts so that Krishna comes on our side. And then those Pandavas, they will have no strength at all. So they were thinking that they could buy Krishna through the material prosperity, the wealth, and not by the devotion. And we all know Janardhan, Krishna, he's after devotion, not the material prosperity. He has no dearth of any of that. So finally, when Krishna reached, after paying his respects to Dhritarashtra and receiving all the worships, he asked Vidura to take him to Maharani Kunti. Maharani Kunti decided to stay with Vidura instead of in the palace of Dhritarashtra. She felt safer with Vidur more than in the palace. And when Krishna comes to see Kunti, Kunti was, she was choked with sorrow. She was emaciated in the separation with her children for so long. She asked, oh Janardhan, oh Keshav, tell me, how are my children? Those pious boys, even since their childhood, they've been suffering the pangs of this Kuru, and they were robbed of their kingdom. They were tried to be killed. They were sent to the forest and fire. How cruel is their fate? They have brought their senses in control. They're devoted to Brahmins. They are the speakers of the truth. By abandoning their wealth and opulence, they have lived in exile. What is this fate, Krishna? And not only that, my heart rips apart when I remember that how that pious lady, how that chaste lady Draupadi was tried to be disrobed in the palace, in the assembly of such respected Kurus and elders. Like that, Kunti Maharani lamented at length. And her voice was rising and falling in grief, and she was crying. When finally she composed herself, she asked about Draupadi, how is she doing? And she also wanted to know more about her children. Krishna compassionately looked at Kunti. So this is the relationship between Kunti and Krishna. Now Kunti knows that Krishna is God. Kunti knows that, and she expresses that there must be a reason that you have allowed all these things to happen. When Draupadi was dragged by dishonorable and covetous wretched Kurus, you protected her, but you let it happen. So there must be a reason, because you are the Supreme Personality. And when anything of that sort has happened, we have remembered you deeply. So if anything of that happens, we welcome it. In her heart, she's praying that let calamities come upon me. She said, when my sons were born, there were sounds in the sky and the gods were speaking that these virtuous sons will rule the world. When will that happen, O Lord? I have no doubt about the prophecies, but when is that time? She was suffering alone She was in constant anxieties. And she was saying that Kshatriyas take birth to rule the kingdoms. So she went on describing how Duryodhana is so evil and how his evil brothers are always planning to kill the Pandavas. She was helpless, single woman with no husband. Brother of the husband has turned his sides and supporting his own wicked sons. So like that, Kunti kept on praying to Lord Krishna at that point in time. And Krishna consoled his grieving aunt and said, "Oh Kunti, what woman is there in this world like you?" Now imagine, this is an appreciation from the Supreme Personality of Godhead to Kunti. Now, it's not Kunti who's claiming to be the devotee of Krishna. It's Krishna who is claiming Kunti to be his own devotee. Oh Kunti, what woman is there in this world like you? Born of a noble family, you married the Pandus, the Lord of the earth, and given birth to such great heroes. Such a mother who's giving birth to Yudhishthir, to Arjun, to Bhima, Naku. These are powerful devotees of the Lord. They're like gods themselves. So such virtuous lady, you are of the sons who are virtue personified. You're the mother of such virtue personified. Such control these Pandavas had. They've controlled their sleep, laziness, anger, joy, hunger, thirst. They didn't desire any pleasures of the world. The happiness belongs to those possessed of true power, is all they desire. So like that, Krishna started to glorify Pandavas and started to console. And he then said, the time has come. The time has come now that your sons, O mother, will rule the world. And people like Duryodhan, etc., they'll be all annihilated from this planet. So like that, when Krishna was then brought back to the palace and he met Duryodhan, with his all false humility, started to glorify Krishna and started to invite him to live in his own kingdom, which he has prepared for Krishna. But Krishna blatantly refused. Without mincing his word, he said, I will not eat with you, O hero, nor shall I stay in Dushasan's palace, because Dushasan's palace was apparently the best palace in entire Hastinapur. And they have created arrangements in Dushasan's palace for Krishna. So Duryodhana says, why do you refuse our invitation, O Janardhan? Again, he was forcing the humility. Internally, we know. And he didn't know that Krishna, sitting in this as a super soul in his heart, knows his heart. And how can Krishna accept his invitation? So externally, he kept praying, are we not as dear to you as the Pandavas? Surely you should see both parties equally. So please accept our hospitalities. Krishna said only those messengers who have gained their objectives should accept the hospitality by those who have received the message. And therefore, after you have fulfilled my wishes, you may entertain both myself and my followers. So like that, Krishna comes out and Duryodhana started to seethe inside with a lot of anger, which was the real true self of Duryodhana. So Krishna said, I never abandon anger, virtues from motives of desire, anger, hate, or attachment. One should eat another's food if only there is love between them, or if he is in distress. Either I don't see any love, neither I'm in distress. So how can I will not accept your food. So Krishna just refused. So it's a very important principle that if there is no love in the offering, Krishna will refuse to accept that offering. Whether we offer bhoga to Krishna, whether we offer loving holy names to Krishna, whether we offer service to Krishna, if that service is not born out of love, is born out of obligations, born out of inferior motives, ulterior motives, and Krishna will not accept those services. And this is what he is doing right in front of Duryodhana. So without anger, he said to Arjun, to Duryodhana, that your food is defiled by wickedness. I will not eat it. I prefer instead to stay with Vidura and eat his food. Just imagine Duryodhana was fuming. When Krishna left that hall, he started to think that this Keshava will not come into my grip. And the only way to grip this Keshava is to bind him, to make him, to captivate him, imprison him. So these kind of thoughts were coming into his mind and heart, which he revealed to later to his brother Dusashan and Shakuni. And they all agreed. And Karna, of course, did not agree to this. So Dhritarashtra also got to know his devious plans of Duryodhana. And he rebuked Duryodhana for that. He rebuked Duryodhana for that. So next day when the assembly came together, Krishna walked with Vidura and Satyaki holding their hands into the assembly. And as he was doing that, Krishna saw that numerous celestial rishis were approaching from the sky to be in that assembly because Krishna is going to give a peace message. There were many rishis. They were hoping to witness what will happen. And therefore, he requested the king to put a befitted seats for them. And then Dhritarashtra ordered various golden seats for rishis to be seated. And amongst those rishis, there was Parshuram, there was Narad Dev. So Krishna said to Dhritarashtra, he said, now it depends upon you and me. You should give an order because you are the king and all the forces are with you. If you give order to your own sons, they will have to follow it. So you can give that order that they should give the rightful 50% of the kingdom to their brothers. And Pandavas, they will never ignore my advice. They will be happy with whatever they'll get. Hence, we can re-establish peace in the world, and there will be no enmity between them two. They'll become the most invincible power on the earth because there's no powerful than them. They see you as worshipable elders, and therefore they will just follow my advice. So Krishna put his emphasis completely upon Dhritarashtra, saying that you follow what I'm saying. But Dhritarashtra, he said that I am completely out of the control of this kingdom now because of my attachment and weakness of attachment with Duryodhana. As the assembly was proceeding, one of the sages who was in the assembly, Parshuram, he started to speak that if the peace is not made, you don't know who you are facing. In his black deer skin and matted hair, he started to speak like this. There was a king called as Dhambodh Bhava. This king has incomparable powers, and he became excessively proud and arrogant. So he started to look for the suitable opponent to defeat him in the battle. And one day, he heard there are two rishis called as Nar and Narayan, who were the most powerful men on earth. So he went at once to Gandhamadan, where they were practicing asceticism, and challenged them to fight. So then Nar said, okay, fight then if you must. O Kshatriya, bring all your army, all your weapons, and then we'll soon destroy your thirst for war. And that Nara, single person Nara, pulled up handful of grasses and imbuing it with mystic power through that grass to the army of this king. And these grasses turned into razor sharp steel shafts, which sliced off the ears and noses of all the soldiers in the entire army in one go. And so many shafts started to rain through the sky that all of them started to flee away and started to beg the mercy. And Rishi then forgave him. So Parshuram said that this Nara and this Narayan is nobody else but then this Arjun and Krishna. They're invincible. You cannot defeat them. So similarly, then there was a Rishi called as Kanva Rishi. He spoke. He said that you shouldn't consider one powerful by his physical strength. Real strength lies in the virtue, and Pandavas are virtuous. And therefore, the strength that Krishna is with them, with the virtue, he cannot be with you because you are not showing virtue. So those five heroes, the Pandavas and Krishna, the five heroes which are Dharma, the Vayu, the Indra, Ashwini gods, these God and this supreme God, they have united. They are one now. Vishnu and all these gods. So Duryodhan, how will you even look at them? How can you even think of defeating them? Then Narad said, like Parshuram, he also narrated a story. He said, O ruler of the earth, listen to your well-wishers' advice. Your obstinacy will lead to ruin. Abandon your anger and vanity and make peace with the Pandavas. Understand the instructions and leave up your anger and just live in peace with them. By not doing so, you will only achieve destruction. Now imagine Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Rishis, the elders, the Kurus, the Acharyas, they are all explaining this obstinate Duryodhan. And finally, towards the end, Krishna looked at Dhritarashtra and he said, this is the fault of all Kuru leaders. You should have restrained this Duryodhan by force. Oh, sinless men, it is time for you to act now. Act. Give the orders to this guy. You know how I have killed the Kamsa, the king of the Bhojas and Ugrasen's wicked son. So Krishna started to explain him how he is so powerful. And he has killed so many demons. And these demons, like the snakes on the face of earth, he's wiped them out. So Dhritarashtra said that he will not listen to me. Let me call his mother, Gandhari, into the assembly. And when Gandhari came, Gandhari said that this Duryodhan, he does not listen to his elders. He is wicked now. And what can I say? He has become what he has become by your own blessings, O Dhritarashtra, O my worshipable Lord. And he said, oh dear son, follow the advice of all your elders who are here. So now the mother is coming into the scene. And she's saying that your uncontrolled senses are powerful enough to kill you completely. And give up this obstinacy. Like that, when Gandhari was speaking, Dusashan, he became favorable. And he said that, brother, let's make truce with Pandavas. So Duryodhan, within his mind, was thinking, what has happened to everybody? Why are they talking to me like this? Why aren't they go to Pandavas and explain to them that I am the righteous king? I will rule the world now. I am the rightful owner of this kingdom. All of them are against me. And now the Dushashan is also turning. So he left the assembly and came out. And they sat together. I said, what shall I do? When Dushashan came, he said, look, this Krishna, he's so powerful, he's so political. He can change minds of everybody. He's got some mystic powers within him. So even you, Dushashan, you are turning away from me. So now is the time to act. Let's seize this Krishna, make him captive. So like that, he comes back to the assembly. And when he comes back to the assembly, Krishna knew his plans. Krishna said, oh, Kuru, you think I'm alone and vulnerable? Oh, one of a small intellect. He said, I will show you the truth. I will show you the truth now. So look, imagine Krishna has come to this extent that he's now having to prove his identity just for the sake of Pandavas. He's willing to go that far. That this obstinate Duryodhan, wicked Duryodhan, if he understands that he does not stand any chance to win, this war can be avoided. So as a final solution, he's going to show something to this Duryodhan. And this Duryodhan, he could not take anymore. He jumped up and pointed to his army and said, seize this Krishna now, seize him at once. So all the soldiers began running into the hall from all directions and trying to capture Krishna with their swords and bows and everything. Krishna just laughed. Suddenly, his body flashed like lightning. He began to grow in the size, and then various gods issued from him. Brahma sprang from his forehead, and Shiva sprang from his chest. And the Lokpala sat on his arms, and Agni appeared from his mouth. Indra and Maruts appeared along with a host of Gandharvas, Yakshas, Rakshasas. And his two eyes came Balram and Arjun, who stood in his left and right side. And then behind him was Yudhishthir, Bhima, and Nakul Sahadeva. And behind them were the Vrishnis and Andhakas headed by Pradyumna. So Krishna's mace, discus, club, weapons all appeared, blazing brilliantly. His spores were emanating from sparks of light and clouds of smoke. The sight was frightening, and that Dhritarashtra could not see. So Dhritarashtra said to Sanjay was describing this event to Dhritarashtra. And he said, oh Krishna, please give me the eyes to see this form. And then Krishna gave that eyes, gave that vision to Dhritarashtra. And what Dhritarashtra saw, that so many gods are approaching Krishna, worshipping him and giving the Vedic mantras, offering Vedic mantras to him. And soon after, Krishna withdrew. Krishna withdrew his mystical form. And everybody paved out way for Krishna, and Krishna moved out of that assembly. It's not that Krishna did not enable the vision to the atheists, the vision to the non-believers, but they didn't want to, even after seeing. They said that Krishna must be some sort of mystic. He has got some sort of magical spell. They didn't want to believe that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Krishna is Ajanma. Krishna is all-powerful. Krishna has his loving relationship with his devotees. Therefore, he's appearing like a human being. But he's unborn. He's Aja. And some people will not believe this, even though Krishna will show his universal form to them. And that's why Krishna is saying that they are Mudas. They are Mudas. But the heart of Kunti Maharani, she is a devotee of the Lord, is speaking it without any obstacle, without any hesitation. Oh Krishna, oh Janardhan, you are unborn. Who knows your glories? You are here. You are here because no, she's giving reasons because you love your devotees, because of the prayers of the devotees, because you want to glorify your devotees like Yudhishthira Maharaj, and therefore you have come. And she's humbly praying to the Lord to bestow his mercy upon her, so that she continued to remember. She continued to remember Janardhan, his worshipable Lord, because in his absence, she was worshipping the deities of Lord Vishnu in the palace of Vidura. So we can see that how there's a reciprocation between devotees and Lord, and how the non-devotees, they will never be able to understand Krishna, and devotees with their simple heart can easily understand. And the only way to understand Krishna is to the heart of devotees, by reading the scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam and following in the footsteps of our acharyas, the parampara that we have been given um, causelessly. We have been given this parampara for our own benefit and purification, about the process of 9 devotional services, 9 devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, etc. We can purify our senses, and we can see the Lord exactly the way Maharani Kunti is seeing the Lord, the vision of the Lord as it is, absolute, not relative. So with that, I think it's 9 o'clock. I'm sorry that I have shooted the limit of the time. If there are any comments, or if somebody wants to make a question, please do so. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Okay, if there aren't any questions, I pass it back to His Grace Karuna Chaitanya Prabhu. Prabhu, thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Manu Prabhu. Thank you so much for a wonderful class. It was really, really mesmerizing to hear you. Although it was short notice for you, I requested, we requested just last evening to give class, and although you need no preparation, it seems like you don't need any preparation. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for a wonderful class. I still request devotees, if they have any questions, comments. We still have a couple of minutes. Please do so.
Manu Prabhu, thank you very much for a wonderful class. Really, really amazing to hear from you as to how Kunti Maharani must be feeling and what position she was in. It really makes us appreciate Kunti Maharani more after listening to your class. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
It looks like everyone is completely satisfied.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for.
His Grace Manu Prabhu ki jai.
Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari.
Yeah. Hare Krishna Prabhu. There's an announcement. So the meeting, which was the mentorship meeting, which was scheduled today, is postponed to next week. I request all of you to join. It'll be same time next week, Sunday the 25th. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for a wonderful class.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the lovely class.
Wonderful class. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the lovely class.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the lovely class.